Back-to-back finals then for Manchester City after that 1-0 win. Let's get some reaction. We'll hear from Pochettino in a moment, but first, here's Kevin De Bruyne.
Well, Kevin, congratulations. I know that's not easy because when we saw Kyle Walker walk off, he said to one of your coaches or physios, "I'm dead." So I know you guys, it was a leggy experience, but coming from Wednesday, how good does this feel now? Another final.
Oh, I think today was all about character. I know we didn't play the best performance that we could play, but I think it's normal. We were unquestionable tired after Wednesday, but you know, still then we found a way to win and to go back to the final, as I just think is a great sign of character today.
I was going to say, because even when the body is not there mentally, you guys seem stronger than ever, like nothing phases you. Do you think that that's something that probably sets you apart from some of the other teams?
Well, it's difficult to say how other teams look at it. I think we've shown over the years that we can perform after setbacks. Obviously, we wanted to go through on Wednesday, but I think the way that we performed against Madrid was really, really good. And obviously, when you play penalties, is a lottery. It's 50-50. And Madrid went through. And, you know, today you play with a bit sadness after Wednesday, but today you are happy that you go back to the final, and it's good.
Maurizio, commiserations, but I imagine you're scratching your head as to how you lost that game, aren't you?
No, it's so easy to explain. I think we conceded in a moment that you should not concede. We didn't were capable to be clinical in front to the goal. I think we created many chances, but we didn't score. That is describe why we lose the game. A game that overall I think we were a little bit better or deserve more. But in football, it's not about to deserve. It's about to be, you know, clinical, and we didn't today.
As a manager, can you do any more when you're creating the quality of chances you did create, but just not taking them?
Well, I think it's about, you know, last Monday we scored 6, and today we were not capable with maybe with same chances or more clear chances to score. Yeah, that is football.
Frank Leboeuf joins us. We'll hear Frank in a moment. How much was this about Manchester City, as Kevin De Bruyne said, showing character and resilience after a tough week, or Chelsea completely and utterly dropping the ball?
It was about Chelsea blowing it, but blowing a great opportunity like they blew in the Carabao Cup final against a team, Liverpool, when you looked at it, went, well, that's not the first choice midfield, that's not the first choice defence. And then as the game wore on, it was like, here's a bunch of kids coming on, and they blew that from a decent position, and they've blown this. They will never, any team playing Manchester City is unlikely ever to get this opportunity of them being so wasteful with the ball, we've been so sluggish, looking tired, and they played 120 minutes, and I'm not knocking that, but that's how they were. Barely creating any chances, had no shots on target in the first half, and Chelsea were not brilliant, but they created enough chances, one guy in particular, Nico Jackson, to win this game, and they completely blew it.
Frank, from a Chelsea perspective, such a frustrating 90 minutes because Manchester City, as Craig says, was there for the taking, but you just couldn't get it over the line.
Yeah, big time, Daniel. I mean, it's crazy, and it's been that for more than a season, where you cannot finish an action. There is a lack of efficiency in the last third, and they create chances but are not able to score. And Nicolas Jackson, Palmer had also a big chance in the first half, even if I thought maybe he could have played the penalty.
Yeah, I think Craig and Frank summed it up pretty well there. I think the disappointing thing for me was conceding in the last 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, knowing that Manchester City have just played a quarter-final of a Champions League against Real Madrid and gone into extra time. You know, if you can get them into extra time in this game a few days later, they're going to be absolutely dead.
Are City going to be okay? Was this just kind of a one-off? Or, you know, Wednesday obviously took a lot out of them. They got Brighton now away on Thursday.
Couple of pints.
Fish and chips on the way home, be all right.
I mean, just get the sports scientists, get them out of my face for a couple of days and go and they look like they just need to chill for a little bit.
Right.
And then just recharge the batteries as best you can. It's not a long time, but
yeah,
a day or two. They definitely need a couple of days rest. And I think they're going to be fine. There's going to be a big push now to the end of the season in terms of the Premier League. FA Cup final beckons. We'll find out tomorrow who they're going to get. But I think they should be okay. But there is no doubt, and you know, Guardiola before this game touched on a little bit on the performance or the sort of feelings around the exit from the Champions League.
Yeah. Disappointing was the word that was put to him, and he goes, you can't be disappointed when we play like that.
Trying to say there was no disappointment because they played so well and blah, blah, blah. Well, come on, we've all sort of been there. You can't hide the disappointment when you go out. But I also think, you know, Haaland was out today and couldn't finish the game. De Bruyne couldn't finish the game against Real Madrid and somehow got man of the match today.
I don't know who picked that.
I don't know who. Man of the match had just been abandoned today. Somebody should just went, whoever was picking it said, I'm not picking one, I refuse.
Well, you should get Nico Jackson, Manchester City's best player.
Just to make it. And so, you know, there's a few of these players that are not quite on song. Now, De Bruyne's had 4 or 5 months off this year. He's came back, did well, then, you know, was ill for the Real Madrid game. Can he pick himself up and go all the way? Are we expecting Haaland to come? Because he was very guarded, the manager, when somebody asked him before the game, what about Erling Haaland?
Yeah, for Thursday.
How long's the injury? He went, I don't know. You don't speak to your medical team? Of course he knows. So he's a little bit guarded about things, and obviously Arsenal have won. We'll get to that. So there's a bit of pressure on, but you know, it wasn't vintage City by a million miles, but they've dug it out.
Yeah.
They've dug it out today, and Chelsea have. Listen, at the end of the day, we can talk about decisions, we can talk about this, that, and the next thing. Chelsea have missed a trick.
Yeah, that's the disappointing thing overall, isn't it, Frank? That must be what disappointed you the most today.
Yeah, because clearly they could have gone through and reached the final, especially against that team was tired, and you have so many chances and so many opportunities to finish the job, and there is a lack of experience, a lack of confidence maybe. I mean, the action that we all see about Jackson trying to dribble the goalkeeper, but at the end not shooting, coming back. If you are confident, you don't wonder. You are spontaneous. You don't think. It's natural, and it's not. And that's what I'm upset about. Well, I'm frustrated about, and I guess the players are too. It's because you had so many chances to score, and as Kieran alluded, try at least to go to the extra time. You know, be strong. You've been strong defensively. They've done the job, really. From the goalkeeper to the defense, nothing to complain about. But you have to have that experience that they don't have to reach the extra time to make sure that you finish City because they're tired.
What did you think about the handball appeal, the one on Jack Grealish, Frank?
Well, I didn't know about the explanation of the referee.
Here's Pep Guardiola, really angry about this game being played on Saturday after a Wednesday Champions League game. You've been there, you've done that. We've seen other leagues, for example, next week, Real Madrid's game is going to be moved to a Friday so they can prepare for the game against Bayern in that semi-final. Has Pep got a point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The fact that the other teams don't play at all in Europe is even more his point. You know, we talk about the replay thing in the FA Cup and how they're removing that to benefit, you know, the top teams, but this is something that has to be changed. You have to be able to take care of these players, because otherwise you just get performances like that from Manchester City, which no one wants to see.
Right.
You know, they looked completely dead today, and if they would have had an extra day, they would have probably been a lot more healthier going into the game, and we would have seen a better game for the fans. So, yeah, Pep's right. They have to change that.
It's interesting because it does damage today's game was terrible. It wasn't good at all. How much can you use the fact that they played on Wednesday, and that should be taken into consideration? How much is that a conversation?
Well, I mean, you can't ignore the tiredness. You can't just disguise it. But there's two sides to this, and there is no doubt in England in particular, they do not do enough to support their clubs in this scenario. You mentioned other leagues. They do it better. But they're not, to me, and maybe I'm wrong in this, they're not bound by the TV pressure because their money is not as astronomical as it is in England. And that's really driven a lot of this. I don't think it is right, and I think more has to be done with it, but it's 6 and 2 3s. Teams are looking after themselves and the players, and as Guardiola said, the welfare of the players and the spectacle. and then TV companies are looking after the product, and it's a difficult one. The other angle of it is he only made 3 subs today.
Right.
And so there has been times where Guardiola has moaned about fixture congestion and maybe made 1 substitution when he can make 5. So, you know, there is 2 sides to that. It is not ideal, but yeah, I think looking forward, they need to be able to be more flexible with the schedule, the governing bodies, be it the FA, the Premier League. There needs to be more flexibility. There needs to be more discussions and communication with the TV networks to say, how can we figure this out to make this product better, not only for the Cup, but for the Champions League, but for the domestic league competition as well, because it has a roll on to everything. Few will have sympathy.
No.
Because of who they are,
yeah,
and the money and the players, and I understand that.
And that money is because of the TV, right?
But it is because of the TV. But it is not just Manchester City. This happens to many clubs, and it's far from an ideal situation.
Frank, what did you want to add?
Yeah, I agree with the guys, and for me the best example was Kyle Walker, you know, and he's the fastest guy I ever seen, you know, maybe competing with Mbappe. And we saw at the end of the game, really, you know, suffering against Nicolas Jackson. And maybe we could talk about another penalty because he pushed him. When you're at full speed, you know, it could have been a penalty. But Kyle Walker, at his best, would have had no problem dealing with that race against Nicolas Jackson. And that you could see that City players were very tired.
What now for Chelsea, Frank? Between now and the end of the season, obviously Arsenal are up next. That's it. The season's pretty much done, isn't it?
Yeah, disturbing maybe the title, being fair, not pleasing Kieran Gibbs by winning against the Gunners. But or otherwise, you know, yeah. I mean, I saw Pochettino saying that he wants some experienced players. You know, if he could be heard by the board and Todd Burley or whoever, that would be nice because that's what they need desperately. So preparing next season. Because there's been 2 awful seasons, and Chelsea cannot do that another year.
But they're still playing for Europe, aren't they?
Well, kind of.
I mean, I know.
Yeah, if you're going to spin it, if you're going to be Chelsea TV, you can say, look, we can still push. And
no, I'm not, definitely not Chelsea.
No, I know, I'm not accusing you of that.
No, but I mean, we're just, you know, we've got to be careful if we say they've nothing to play for.
No, that's very true.
Because, you know, Pochettino's hanging on to something.
Yes.
He has to hang on to something. And I suppose, as well as maybe the outside European places, the spoiler could be this big London derby coming up. We've seen Manchester United not derail Liverpool, but knock them out of the FA Cup, and then obviously taking points off them in the league. And we know Man United are not like Chelsea, not a very good side. So there are still things that they need to hang their hat on. And that's me trying to find.
Well, that's very
positive.
I know it's very unlike you, Burley. Last year we saw the final, of course, was Manchester City against Manchester United. It, of course, could happen again, according to the bookies. United very much the favourites, of course, in that second semi-final tomorrow, and they are odds-on favourite according to ESPN Bet. You can watch that game live on ESPN Plus. Our coverage starts at 10 a.m. Eastern.